There we go. All right, let's do it to it. I'm going to share my screen. Can I get a thumbs up? Can everyone see my screen here? All right, good. Thank you. So today you're joining in on Online Leads 102. I know there's a little bit of, there might have been a little confusion on the calendar up until just about yesterday. It said Online Leads 101, which is the basics. Today is advanced lead conversion. It's okay if you haven't gone through the 101, the basics. There's some other good content. There's a recording on Fast Class of the 101 course if you're here for that. But 102 is going to have some really good, much more tactical content here that we're going to be going through. I'm also going to be asking for some pretty good amount of participation throughout. So there's going to be chances for everyone to either type in a response. We'll do some multiple choice things, but please feel free to jump in on microphone, ask questions, or if you want to respond into some of the audience prompts as we're going through. That is highly, highly encouraged. The more participation we get for today, the better. This is about you guys. So if we walk away from here and you get one or two nuggets that you feel like are going to make you better at converting leads, whether it's online or from any other source, then that'll be a success. So really, the more that you engage and the more that you ask questions, the more successful this will be. So question for everyone, we'll start off with a little bit of interactivity here. How many of you have started actually receiving leads from an online source? If you're on video, you can raise your hand. If you're not, you can use the little emoji thing, or you can go in the chat room, however you're going to do it. But I'd like to see how many of you have received leads from Ojo, OpCity. Maybe you're buying them from Realtor.com or Zillow or any of these sources. All right, we got Sakia, Cyrus, see Melissa. Okay, cool. So few of us are. Few of us haven't started receiving leads yet. That's okay. How many of you have started actually going on showing appointments? How many of you have met face-to-face with clients from online lead sources? Okay, cool. We got a couple of us that have, a couple of us that seems like maybe most of us haven't. So a good mix. All right. Okay, cool, cool. Has anyone closed a sale from an online lead source yet? All right. Got one. Cyrus, I think I saw a closing in your name. You were partnered with Cynthia, I think, recently, right?
Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry. I was just thinking of OpCity and Ojo only for some reason, but yes, Flex.
They all count. They all
Yeah,
count,
yeah.
definitely.
Flex.
So,
Yeah.
and congratulations to those of you who have closed. For those of you who have not yet, there's going to be huge value. But for those of you who have, there's still going to be a tremendous amount of value, because I always think of this as it's an evolving process, and we're constantly sharpening our skill set. A little bit of background on me: I'm the lead scientist for Team Fast. I manage our Ojo, OpCity, Zillow Flex, as well as a handful of smaller lead programs that we have here. At the previous brokerage that I was with, I was doing a very similar role, managing our online lead generation systems. And I've overseen, in the last 5 years since I've been doing this, working with Zillow, Realtor.com, all these different lead sources, close to $500 million in closings from online lead sources. And personally, in the last 2.5 years or so, I've closed close to 50 sales from online lead sources. So I'm a huge proponent, a huge advocate of online leads as a tremendously valuable source and pillar of your business. So let's get into it. Today, some goals. At the end of today, I want you to know how to book an appointment with an online lead. When you get that call, how to actually get face-to-face and meet with them. I want you to know at the end of today how to follow up with seasoned leads. Those are the leads that come through. Maybe you don't get them on the first pass, but they've been in your system for a day, a week, a month, a year, but how to actually convert those older existing leads as well. I also want you to know prep steps before running that first appointment. It's not just enough to get the appointment. How do you knock that appointment out of the park and have that be a tremendously successful interview with the client? And lastly, at the end of today, I want you to know how to keep clients engaged after that first appointment, or even after that first phone call, to get them to closing, right? How to keep them in the pipeline so that they ultimately buy or sell their home with you. At the end of today, I also want you to feel a couple things as well. And the biggest, or I want you to feel one thing mainly, which is I want you to feel like you have more tools in your tool belt to turn leads into appointments and appointments into closings. I want you to feel that confidence that you know what to do. And then lastly, at the end of today, I want you to do one thing, which is apply some of these skills that we talk about and that we go through here today in your actual business with the leads that you have and that you're working with. Okay. Question for everyone. how are online leads different than referrals, sphere of influence, repeat business? How would you say online leads are different from these leads from other sources? You can go ahead and take yourself off mute if you want to jump on, or you can throw something out in the chat.
Strangers. Online leads are strangers, people that you don't know, which makes it a little scary sometimes.
Okay, they're strangers, the people that you don't know. Absolutely, that's a good one. What else?
These are people who have seen a property and you know that they are interested right now.
Yeah, right. Usually, especially when they're fresh, they've seen something and they're interested now. They're not like, maybe I want to buy a house. It's usually, hey, I saw this house and I like it. Very, very good. Good. Anything else? Any other differences we can think of?
I would say,
Tony, go ahead and then Melissa.
oh, okay. I would say depending on the lead source, if they're coming from online, and it's possible that they do know about you, even though you don't know about them.
They might have done their research. Yeah, good point.
Yeah,
point.
if they see you on social or something.
Yeah, very good point. Melissa?
I was going to say they're usually not as educated on the buying process. They're usually younger, and sometimes they have an agent, but they want you to show them a property anyway. And then sometimes they're newer. They don't understand the process as much. So they really need consultations.
Yeah, sometimes they think they're ready to go out and see a house and they're not. They're just getting started in the process. So I would agree with all of those things. My list here of what I said, a couple of the key differences is that when they're coming in, they don't yet know, like, or trust you. With Tony, I would say that's a valid point, though, is that sometimes they might know you a little bit because they've been looking at your profile on social, or they've looked at your reviews through Zillow or Realtor or Redfin or whatever it is. But this is one of the challenges, and it is our job to get them to know, like, and trust us, right? That is one of the big challenges. And if you understand that, can be a huge tool for you to know how to work with these folks. The second is this Amazon mindset. So like you said, they very often are sitting in front of the computer. They found the property that they want. They click tour now. I want to go to our house, right? Buy it now. Let's, we want to have this happen quick. So we have to deliver on that, right? I want to go out and see this house today at 5 o'clock. We got to be the person that makes that happen, right? This is Amazon mentality here. Buy it now. But at the end of the day, these are still people who want to buy or sell a home, right? And one of the things that I'll say a few times today that I'd strongly recommend as you're going through that's going to help you be successful is give people the benefit of the doubt, right? Assume that this is someone that just wants to buy or sell a home. They don't know a lot about the process. They don't know a lot about you, and they genuinely want to make this happen. Okay, so you want an online lead. You got your system set up, a lead came through, you clicked claim lead. It says, congratulations, we're connecting you with a client. Now what? Now what do you do? So let's get into it. A couple of really important mindset things to always, when you hit that claim lead button, it shows up, you get the call coming in, you've got a lead coming through, or maybe you're calling and re-nurturing. Some key things to have as a mindset that's really going to help you be successful. First is that persistence is going to be critical here. Follow up, right? That is so, so important. If we want the opportunity to earn doctor and lawyer money, we're going to have to put in doctor and lawyer work, right? So don't expect that someone's going to come in pre-approved, ready to buy a house on that first inquiry that they make. We're going to have to put in the work, and persistence is how we're going to get there. Also know that a 10% closing rate is excellent. That's going to put you at the top of the industry for closing on leads. But what that means is 9 out of 10 of the leads that come through are not going to buy or sell a house with you. And if you are getting 1 out of 10, again, that is putting you in the top tier, depending on the lead source, right? Zillow, which is arguably one of the highest quality leads, Redfin as well, a 10% close rate is fantastic. So just know that you're going to chase down a lot of leads that aren't going to result in a sale. But that just kind of comes with the territory. And I would think of it the same way. If you went out and door knocked and you knocked on 100 doors and you got 1 sale out of that, you'd probably be pretty happy with that, right? Or you got 2 sales out of it. If you knocked and on 1 out of 10 doors bought or sold their house with you, I think you'd be pretty ecstatic. So it's a similar thing with the online leads. It's a numbers game. Third, similar to what I was saying earlier, buyers aren't liars. I've heard this said many, many times. Buyers are liars, buyers are liars. I absolutely hate that saying. If you have that as a mindset, buyers are liars, you're not going to enjoy online leads. This is not going to be for you. If you flip that script and think of it as buyers are people, right? They don't know what they want. They're uncertain about the process. They're suspicious about online things, right? They want to feel nurtured and listened to and all of these things. And sometimes they might say something and then they go home and change their mind. So just understand that these are people, and they're going to be people. They're going to do the things that people do, right? They're going to disappear for a while. They're going to change their mind. They're going to do all these sorts of things. So get the buyers or liars mindset out of your head, and you'll have a much, much better time with this. Along those lines, right? Assume that they truly want to buy or sell a house. Fifth, you are here to solve problems, not cash checks, right? Online leads is not about easy deals coming through. It's not about people who are coming through pre-approved, no realtor, ready to buy a house to go out and we're going to have them closed in 2 weeks. A part of this process is putting the work in to help them. Maybe they, have challenging credit, or maybe they don't know what they want, or maybe they're scattered all over the place, or maybe they're interviewing multiple realtors, right? We're here to help solve their problems to get them into a home, and not just, all right, great, you inquired online, I'm going to help you buy a house, and now I get my check. And then last, always make the ask. And what I mean by that is we should always be the ones advancing the relationship forward. And this goes with any client, right? But we always should be making the ask for the appointment, for the offer, for going and touring more properties, for getting the loan approval. But we should expect that the ball is always in our court to advance the relationship forward. Okay, so now let's go into the 3 phases of lead conversion. You can break this down in a lot of different ways, but I like to think of this as booking the appointment, and this is especially with newer leads coming in. That first appointment, the first face-to-face meeting, whether that's at a property or at a coffee shop or at your office, and then closing the deal, getting them from the appointment to an accepted contract. So let's get into booking the appointment first. And I want to give you all a number here that is very, very important to keep in mind. So in thinking about booking the appointment, 80%. Does anyone have a guess at what this 80% number refers to? 80% of buyers or online leads, what? Any guesses here? All right, 80%. Oh, Melissa, did you take yourself off mute? You want to throw one out?
I was going to say, approved.
Oh, I wish. It's probably 20%.
80% won't convert.
What was that?
80% won't convert.
I wish there too. It's probably 90 or 95% won't convert, but that's a good guess. That's a good guess because 80% could very well convert to appointments, probably closer to 40% convert. But the number is 80% of people will work with the first agent they meet in person, right? Keep that in mind. 80% of people will work with the first realtor that they meet face to face. So what does that mean? Our goal should be when someone calls in through OpCity and they're interested in seeing 123 Main Street, and we're not sure if we should show them or not, because we don't know if they're approved or if they can qualify for the property, or if it's a good property. What should our goal be?
Build a relationship.
Get in front of them. Build a relationship. We do that best by getting in front of them, right? That is by far the most impactful thing that you can do. If you take one practice away from today, it's get the appointment. Get the appointment, go out and meet them in person. Unless you feel unsafe, that's obviously a very, very different story, but get the appointment and go out and meet them. And use this as a reference point for yourself as how to go through this initial conversation. This is valuable for all leads across all sources, right? Whether it's a referral from a friend or it's an online lead that just came through and wants to go and see a house today at 5 o'clock. ALM, appointment, location, motivation. When a lead comes through and they're asking about a specific property or that they want to buy a house or whatever it is, book the appointment, make some general inquiries about the location that they're looking in and the types of homes, and ask some motivation questions. And I'll go into some details on what this looks like, but appointment, location, motivation. Write this down, have it up on a whiteboard in front of you. I knew an agent who we did some coaching with, She closed close to 50 sales a year from online leads across Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin. She was an online lead fiend, just herself, closing 50 deals a year. And I would see her on calls when new leads would come through, and she would have a notepad. And every time on the call, even being that experienced, she would write down ALM. And as she'd go through, she'd fill in her notes on that ALM and would fill in notes. And she just did that every single time. So there was never a point where this becomes not valuable, right? ALM, remember that, appointment, location, motivation. So what does that sound like? All right. So let's take a scenario where you've just got a new lead coming through, whether regardless of the source, let's say it's Op City, you just claimed a lead, you just get connected with them. This is a script. It's not the only one you can use, but this is the one that I think is pretty effective, or that's been shown to be pretty effective. Is hey Sam, this is Dan with eXp Realty. How are you? How's it going? Right. Start kind of friendly, get into it, get them talking initially, ask some sort of question to lead them into it. Chat a little bit. Oh, great. Okay. Hey, so we just got your inquiry on realtor.com about 123 Main Street. It's a great property. What time do you want to go out and see it? Straight to the appointment, right? Book the appointment. That should be in the first sentence or two. What time do you want to go out and see it? The next sentence is, I find, extremely valuable. And I think missing this is what trips people up and makes them uncomfortable with booking the appointment right at that first sentence or the second sentence. But doing something like, okay, great. So let me check to make sure that time works. I'm going to look it up in my system. While I'm looking that up, then that gets into your location, motivation questions. What other homes have caught your eye? Is this the only property that you're looking at? What has you interested in Elk Grove? Are you living in Elk Grove right now? What is, is this kind of the type of house that you're searching for? What else are you looking for? Any of those sorts of questions, right? But that's where you get into those location, motivation type questions. And depending on the, where you're at in taking leads, you can also weave in there asking about whether they have a realtor and whether they have a loan approval. I wouldn't recommend, I would actually strongly I would strongly advise against requiring a loan approval before going and showing a property. Strongly advise against that. Get face-to-face with them. Remember, Amazon mindset, if you require a loan approval to go out into our property, they're just going to go on a different online lead source, click again, and find someone who's going to take them, and that person's gone. So appointment, location, motivation. Does anyone have any questions on this scripting? How do we feel about this? Thumbs up.
Good, it gets to the point.
Yep. And I think that's a really valuable thing. We don't necessarily want this initial conversation to be a 15 or 20-minute buyer's consultation. You should do that in person. Get some basic details, enough information to make sure that you're comfortable with them and you can get out and tour the property, and then do the rest of the relationship and rapport building in person. Okay, let's do some knowledge checks here. So you talked to a lead about touring a specific property. They sounded pretty unsure about the process. They hadn't been approved for a loan yet. What should your next step be? In the chat box, you can go ahead and type in A, B, C, or D. A, tell them to contact with a lender and give your info for them to call you back. B, set an appointment with your lender and get them approved. C, set an appointment to meet for a buyer's consultation. Or D, set an appointment for them to tour that specific property. What do we think? What would be your next best step here? Okay, got some people responding in. Good. Yes, D, absolutely. Get them out to tour that specific property. There are a few exceptions that I won't even go over. If you feel like, someone's inquiring on $1 million property and they happen to say like, yeah, but I don't have a job and I haven't been employed for 3 years. Yeah, okay. Maybe, let's not rush it there. But 80-90% of the time, just get them out to see that property. Very good. Next, you got a new lead and book the appointment. But while on the phone, you notice that the property is already pending. What should you do? A, suggest that you keep the booked time and find some other options while on the phone. B, make sure that they have your contact info so that they can call you when they find another house that they're interested in. C, get the client's criteria and tell them that you'll follow up with some other options. Or D, don't tell them, keep the appointment and let them know when you're actually out at the house. What do we think? Okay, got some answers. All right, got some variety here. Good. Okay. Give it a 10 more seconds. Let anyone else respond in. What do we think? All right, we got some A's, we got some C's. Okay. Whenever possible, I would recommend A as your next best step here. And that is primarily if you have the ability to either pull up the MLS on your phone, or if you're in front of your computer, keep them on the phone, say, oh, you know what, this property that looks like they just accepted an offer. How about this though? I know that there's a couple other houses in this area. Tell me a little bit more about what you're looking for. And I think we can find something else to get out so you can start touring homes. And keep them on the phone, get the criteria, do the search at the same time, find something else, and keep the appointment time. Book the appointment, get face-to-face with them, right? The important thing there is when you lose them off that call without a firm, concrete next step, the chances that you're going to be able to get that next appointment significantly drop. So C is okay if you absolutely have to get the criteria. You know, if you claim a lead while you're out at the grocery store, or you're in the middle of something and you chat with the person, C is an okay backup, but wherever possible, keep the booked time, find another property, and go out and meet them at something else. D, I know a lot of people do recommend doing D. There are a lot of people out there in the online lead space that say just keep the appointment, don't tell them. I'm not a huge fan of that because I've had it backfire and have seen it backfire many times, where you get out to the property and it's pending and the client thinks that you're a dummy because you didn't learn this before, or that you wasted their time, or they learn it before you do and you look like you don't know what you're doing. Okay. Jace connects with a new buyer. Let's see, we got a question here. You could always show it still as things fall out of contract. Yeah, really, really good point. Really good point. And thank you for bringing that up. Another option that you can do too, let them know that the property is pending. If it's vacant, tell them, you know what, homes fall out of contract about 10 to 20% of the time. The contract doesn't go through. So there's a chance that this one may not go through. How about we meet at this property still? And I'll find some other options for us to tour as well. But let them know and make sure it's okay with the listing agent. I'd recommend doing it. If it's vacant, much easier. If it's seller occupied or worse, tenant occupied, I usually tend not to do that. But if it's vacant, I'd say go for it. Okay. Jace connects with a new buyer. Jace immediately asks what time they want to see the home, and the buyer confirms 5 p.m. today. Jace then says they will call the sellers right away and get back to the buyer to confirm the appointment, and ends the call. What could Jace have done differently? A, ask questions about location and motivation. B, confirmed if the buyer is pre-approved. C, checked whether the buyer is already working with a realtor and just wants the door opened. Or D, started with a warmer intro rather than just jumping straight into the appointment. What do we think? What could they have done different here? They call, they book the appointment at 5, and they say they're going to call the sellers and get back to confirm the time. Okay, good. I'm seeing a lot of A's on here. And that is correct. They skipped location and motivation. And I've heard this several times on calls, and your chances of getting that appointment locked in drop substantially if you end that initial call without a confirmed locked-in appointment and a little bit of relationship built, right? Because you just had a 45-second conversation with someone and they're like, am I going to go out and meet this stranger today at 5 o'clock? I don't feel comfortable with that. Okay, so we've got through booking the appointment. You did your ALM, appointment, location, motivation. You got them booked for tomorrow, 5 o'clock to go out and see the house. Now you've got an appointment. How do you nail that first appointment to turn them from a lead into a client? So question for all of you, what is your goal for first showing appointment? You booked an appointment to tour a home. You're going out to see it. What is your goal at this first appointment? Throw it in the chat. You can do that. If you want to jump off mute, you can do that too. What are we trying to accomplish here at this first appointment?
I would say start your relationship with them, ask them more questions, get to know them, try and stand out from other realtors.
Yes.
They probably won't get that house, but just to get face to face is good.
Yes. Yes. Your goal at the first appointment is to earn their business as a client. It's to build relationship. It's to establish rapport, to build trust, to make them feel like you're the person that they want to have help them in their home search, buying or selling a home. Very, very rarely, it happens, and it's great when it does, but very rarely do they actually buy the first home that they go out and tour. It definitely happens. So don't assume that, it's just a total write-off for that first property. I've had it happen, probably about a dozen times where that first property that we tour is the one that they actually wind up closing on. So make sure you make the ask if you want to write an offer on this home, but don't assume that that's what's going to happen, right? Assume that your goal is to build relationship, not just to sell that home, and don't get disappointed when that house doesn't work out, or they're not pre-approved, or they're not ready to buy, or they don't move quick enough on it, or any of those sorts of things. Just expect that that's what's going to happen. All right, so some mindset things for this first showing appointment. The more that you can put this into your head as you're walking into this appointment, put yourself in the customer's shoes, the more successful you're going to be. So the first one, Melissa, I think you mentioned this earlier, but this might be their very first time ever going out and seeing a home. They might be totally new to the process. They have never walked into a stranger's home with a different stranger before to go out and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and get themselves into 30 years worth of debt, right? This could be terrifying for them. So put that into their mindset that they might be completely out of their league or have no idea what to expect, and this is their first time doing it. Second, understand that you are also a stranger from the internet. So we have to put in a lot of work to make them feel comfortable and make them feel at ease when we're getting up to the first appointment and we're at the first appointment. Understand that any unease that you might feel, they probably feel it double, right? Because they're very new to this process. Along those lines too, they probably know nothing about the process or what your job is. So if we have the situations where a client goes and they make an inquiry through us to go and see a house, and then go to another realtor to see another house, and another realtor to see another house, it's not their fault. It's not their fault. Very, very rarely is that done out of malice. It's usually done out of ignorance of the process. And it's our job to educate them on how this process works and what they should do. And fourth, take the mindset that these are nice, friendly people who want to buy a home or sell a home, right? That these are good people that you're meeting with. Yes, Melissa?
Real quick. So one of my issues is letting them know that we don't get paid by realtor.com or whatever the service is. And I have a hard time telling them, like, we don't get paid to open the doors, because a lot of times they'll make comments like, oh, do you guys work Monday through or this or that? Like, we're not part of realtor.com. We are individual realtors. And it's hard for me to say it, like, we don't get paid to open doors. We don't get paid till we close. And so I have a hard time saying it, and I don't really know how to say it to them without sounding like an asshole.
That's such a good question. Does anyone have any script or dialogue that they use for that conversation, the talk about money conversation, how we get paid? Does anyone have any talking points that they like to use for that?
I don't personally have specific talking points, but I would understand and be in agreement with what Melissa is saying. But sometimes I have found myself that when I've seen other people address, say, that specific question or issue straight on confidently, it seems to be the best way to handle it without feeling like you're kind of circumventing the issue. Sometimes I think, and I put myself in this category as well. Sometimes, those conversations about money are not easy, but if you approach it directly and confidently as just matter of fact, it seems like not only is it handled quickly, but I would think the other side, the potential client, would appreciate it too.
Yep, absolutely. Jordana, I see your hand raised. What do you got?
I'm confused. People are calling in and asking how much we get paid to open doors, or what was the question?
No, they assume, and they either think we work for realtor.com and we get paid hourly by them, or they'll think that they think we get paid by them, and that we're not they don't know how we get paid.
They don't
They don't know
understand.
that we get paid when we close.
How
Yeah.
is it coming up? How are they asking you? Like, how
Well,
does
they'll
it,
use multiple realtors. Sometimes they'll say, I do have an agent, but we're not going to use them. Or I have a family or friend, but I'm not going to use them this time. They're always busy. So then they'll say that they're going to just use me instead. And then they'll ghost you after you show them the house.
so for something like that, I feel like it's less about explaining to them how we get paid and more about making sure that they're not committed to another agent. And if we're showing them a property, that we're not stepping on another agent's toes, and that they will, like, explaining your value to them in terms of being their agent versus someone who's too busy. I kind of go down that path versus like trying to explain to them how we get paid. And then if they do push it, I say, oh no, I'm a realtor.com partner or a flex partner. And explain how I work. Like, yeah, I work pretty much 7 days a week. I would represent you in the transaction as a buyer's agent. Here's what I do as a buyer's agent, and just kind of talk about my value from there versus like focusing on how I get paid.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw your hand up, and thank you for that. Yeah, good contribution.
I think she just nailed it. I loved everything that she just said. That was also a perspective for me. Normally, how I go about that situation is that I think first I like to report like the you can trust me relationship, like, get as much details about the lead as possible. And then I always just let them know, like, I'm doing it out of kindness. Like, I don't get paid for this. I don't make it like a cocky thing. I just be like, oh no, they'd be like, oh, how much do I have to pay you to do this or this? And I'm like, no, I only get paid. I'm a realtor. I only get paid on commission. So I just make it seem like it's a humbling situation and me just being helpful and I want to help someone. That always helps me just break the ice. Like, I get paid this time, like just humbling myself and just saying like, no, this, you gotta look at it this way. I'm just being nice to you. So that's how I go around there.
So and yeah, thank you. And two thoughts that I would add onto that. What I've always found to be very effective is always addressing that in the buyer's consultation. So my process is initial call, face-to-face showing appointment, buyer's consultation. And in the buyer's consultation, that is 100% of the time brought up. If it kind of comes up in that initial showing, the question that I ask, the phrasing that I always ask, and this is how I ask in the buyer's consultation too, is, do you understand how I get compensated as part of this process? Or do you understand my role and how I get compensated as part of this process? And, like Tony said, ask it very casually, but very confidently. I don't, grin. I think it's kind of awkward, but do you understand how I get paid? Right? That, like, the discomfort grin, right? Just saying, okay, and do you understand how I get compensated as part of this process? And then spelling it out very clearly for them. Just so you know, I'm a partner agent with realtor.com. I don't work for them directly. So as we go throughout this process, I'll be showing you homes, helping you get approved for a loan, helping guide you throughout this entire process. Could be weeks, could be months, could be years. I get paid at the very end when you buy a house, and the seller is the one actually paying that. You don't got to tip me as we're going and touring these homes. You got to write me a check at any point. It's not part of your closing costs. But what I ask is, as we're going through this process, it's okay if you're interviewing multiple realtors, but very shortly, even on one person. I hope that's me, but if it's not, no big deal. Let me know so that I know how to spend my time, because I don't get paid as we're going out and touring these homes. So, if we go out and you're touring with multiple realtors, that's just not how I work. Does that sound fair? And everyone, probably 95% of people, when I say, do you understand how I get compensated as a buyer's agent? 95% of people say no, they don't understand. And 100% of people say thank you at the end of it, because they usually want to know the information and they're uncomfortable asking us. So I always straight head on. If I always buy the buyer's consultation, but if it comes up in the initial showing, just straight on ask, do you understand my role and how I get compensated as an agent? And just go through it like that. Super good discussion. Thank you all very much. There's not necessarily a perfect way to go through it, but it is critical that you have that conversation in some form. Okay, let's get back to the appointment though. Prep. You got the appointment. You're booked for tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Open discussion. What do you do to prepare for running that appointment tomorrow? What are some of the things? And this doesn't have to be specific to online leads. This should be stuff that you do for every single client, every single time, to make yourself stand out. How do you prepare for that first appointment, that first face-to-face showing a property with a client? What are some of the things you do? What are some of the things you bring? How do you mentally prepare yourself?
Research the property, the area.
Okay, research the property in the area. Excellent. Good, good. What else? Research
Maybe
neighborhood.
have a handful, maybe few different options.
Yep, alternative properties. I love it. Absolutely. What else? Anyone got any other thoughts? Okay, so those 3 items, and then here's my list of prep. This is what I do, and this comes not just from me, but from best practices across all the online lead providers, Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, of their best practices. Bring backup properties, especially if you're showing just one home. Go on and research 2 to 4 similar vacant homes within a 5 to 10 minute drive. Always bring them, even if they say, no, I'm just interested in this one home. 50 to 80% of the time, if they get out, they're touring, they're looking at homes, they start to trust you, and you say, hey, there's another house 5 minutes down the block that's kind of similar. You want to go take a look? Most of the time, they're going to say yes. So the more you can extend that appointment, the better your value is. So absolutely always bring backup properties. Research the property. Find out what's going on with it. Are there disclosures? Make sure that you know any information about it. Call the listing agent to find out any background information. Set the appointment on Follow-Up Boss so that it sends out automated text reminders to your client. I've had people respond back to those things all the time, and I didn't even know they were going out. Where at 8 o'clock the day of the appointment, Follow-Up Boss will send a text, hey, just a reminder, today we're meeting at 5 o'clock at this address. Please let me know if you have any questions. They'll respond back and say, hey, great. Looking forward to meeting you. That is going to reduce your no-show rate. Send your high note presentation or business card, but something to them to help build confidence that you are a real licensed professional and that they are going to be comfortable meeting you, a stranger, out there in person. Either text it through or email it through, but send something between phone call and face-to-face so that they have something tangible to research you with, to build confidence. Research comps and that specific property. Like I said, talk to the listing agent, and then bring print materials. I strongly recommend doing this. I think we get like 40 or 50 free folders from, actually, I've got mine here. This is what I have, these EXP folders. I put a business card inside the set. I've got printouts of a bio about me, real estate terminology that I wrote up, and then I use the Breakthrough Broker has infographics of the home buying process, stress-free home buying. All of that goes in this folder on one side, and then on the other side is the printouts, the MLS printouts of all the homes we're going to tour in order of the most efficient driving route in case we get lost or in case they don't want to follow me or whatever. And every time this is presented to them at the showing with a pen, and I say, all right, we're going to go out. We're going to be seeing a bunch of homes today. I strongly recommend you take notes. This is for you. And I can't tell you how many times at the repeat appointments are all throughout, they come back with their binders, and this is what they're using to take notes. And they've got my stuff with them. This is a small step, but I would strongly recommend doing it. Melissa, yeah, they come free. These were free from EXP. So you can get, again, I think it's 40 or 50 of these free from EXP through EXP Enterprise if you look at their marketing materials. Okay. Any questions on prep? So you do that too. I love it. This is such a valuable step. Really, this is a job interview. So we want to blow them away just in the same way that you would for a listing appointment. All right, so now it's during the appointment. You get out, you're at the house. What do you do when you're actually about to meet them face to face? First, greet them, smile, walk up to them, shake hands. Last 2 years, we haven't really been able to, elbow bump, whatever they're comfortable with. And then take control of the situation and let them know how this is going to work, right? Hey, great to meet you. How is traffic? What did you think of the neighborhood as you're driving in? Fantastic. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go inside the house. I'm going to stand near you. I'll kind of walk through the house with you. I'll give you some information about the property. It's not really my style to walk through the house and let you know this is a bathroom and this is a kitchen and this is a living room. But if you have questions, let me know, but really feel free to explore the space. If you need to take photos, take videos, absolutely do that. I'd recommend you take notes, right? Give them the spiel on exactly what they should be doing. And 95% of the time, that's exactly what they do. Pull out their pens, they go through, they take photos, they go through, and we engage and talk. But give them expectations about what they should be doing. Because again, they're new, this is their first time, they don't have no idea what to do. They're walking into a stranger's home with a stranger. Give them instructions. Second, be friendly, light, make them feel at ease. Make casual conversation with them. If they're interested in the yard, do you do gardening? Do you have dogs? Do you entertain people? Oh, you like the kitchen? How's this floor plan? Do you have family? Would you have big family gatherings? Build rapport and relationship with them. And I really like using features of the house as ways to ask questions to learn more about them. Like I was just giving the example of yard. Do you have dogs? Do you have kids? What do you do out in the yard? Do you garden? Do you do barbecue stuff? Would you see yourself, having Thanksgiving or Christmas here? Do you entertain guests? Would this kitchen be big enough for you? All of these questions are super valuable for rapport building, and you can just use the house as you're going through as your jumping off points for this. And along those lines, on the third one, focus on the relationship, not so much on the property. I just talked about using the features of the property to start conversation, but my goal is not really to sell them on the house. It's to find out what's important to them in a house and what kind of people they are, and build a relationship and get them comfortable with me. And fourth, you still want to show knowledge by sharing information about the house, square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, year built, all this sort of stuff. You want to do your research and show it. You did your comps, so fill them in with that information. Fifth, super, super important. At the end of every showing, the end of every property, and the end of every tour, make the ask. And the way that I do this is 2 steps. So when we're going out and meeting for the first time, during that expectation setting conversation, how to tour the home, I also tell them, hey, just so you know, at the end of every time we're going and touring a home, I'm going to ask you how you feel about the house and if it's something that you could see yourself living in or making an offer on. Please don't feel like I'm trying to be salesy or pushy. It's just always a lot easier to have that conversation when we're here, when we're present, when we're in the house, rather than 5 houses from now when you might have forgotten. Totally okay if you change your mind, but just know that at the end of every house, I'm going to ask that question. And then at the end of every house, I ask that question. What do you think? Could you see yourself writing an offer on it? We take notes. Okay, cool. Is this on the table? Is this off the table? Is this an option? We have that conversation. We move on to the next. But always be making that ask. And that's going to really, really, really accelerate your sales process. And then at the end of the whole appointment, end with a firm next step. So this is again, a really important takeaway for everyone here. When you finish up that next appointment, they should know exactly what they're going to be doing next, and they should know exactly what you're going to be doing next. So for example, all right, so we've seen these homes, it's fantastic. Our next best step at this point is I'm going to put you in contact with my lender. Does tomorrow at 9 o'clock work for a time for them to give you a call? Okay, perfect. So they're going to give you a call. I'm going to do some research on 123 Maple Street. Sounded like something that you're interested in. Get you some more details on that. And then let's go ahead and book a buyer's consultation so we can sit down and go through the whole home buying process. How does Thursday work for you? Right? We get really firm next steps. So you leave that appointment with a next step. Okay. Anyone have any questions on things to do during the appointment or anything that you do differently? Feeling pretty good? Okay, cool. After the appointment, send a follow-up text or email. Strongly recommend this. Hey, it was great meeting with you. Here's our to-dos. My lender's going to call you tomorrow, and then we're going to meet for a buyer's consultation. I'll follow up tomorrow as well with that information on the property. Complete any promised items within 24 hours. Comps, researching other properties, sending them disclosures, whatever. But make sure you're doing that in a timely manner, right? Because again, this is still a job interview. They're deciding whether or not to hire you. Send them your high note presentation if you haven't already. Some details on the home buying process and details on you. But you want to be sending all this additional material. And then last, have that firm next step in mind or agreed upon, right? It's a buyer's consultation to review disclosures or offers. Book date to tour more homes, right? That's a super valuable one too. You can just set an appointment for your next appointment, even if you don't have homes. A lender appointment, any of these things, but having a clear next step with them. Okay, let's do a knowledge check. So Lisa books an appointment with a client. To prep, she prints the MLS, to research comps. She sends a calendar appointment with her high note presentation. What else could Lisa have done to prep for her appointment? There's not an A, B, C, or D for this one, so think about it. And in the chat, let's see some responses. What else could she have done to prepare for this appointment? What do we think? Enter it in the chat if you want, or you just want to jump off mute. All right, still says find additional properties that meet criteria. Yes, absolutely. Good one. Good one. Tony says backup properties. Yes, absolutely. That is definitely the biggest. And the other thing that I would add on there is calling the listing agent to find out any special details about the house. The line that I like to use with the listing agents is there anything that I can make sure to point out my buyers about this house to help me sell it to them? And that'll usually get them going on, oh yeah, it's this and that and that. All right, Shane tours one property with a new client. He completed all the prep steps and felt like the tour went well. The client said that they weren't that interested in the specific property and that they are first-time buyers just getting started in the process. What should Shane do next? A, call the client later that day with comps for the home. B, send them the contact information for his lender. C, work on setting up another time to tour more homes. Or D, schedule a time for a buyer's consultation. What do we think? Okay, got some responses. What's everyone else think? A, B, C, or D? All right, take another few seconds here. Picking two, C and D. All right, all right. Ophelia, C and D. I guess that's fair. I didn't say it was just one correct answer. So I put D as the correct answer, but I would also say C and D is fine, right? So because they are first-time buyers and they're just getting started in the process, absolutely, absolutely should include D. Do the buyer's consultation. Don't just keep touring them through homes, because the buyer's consultation is going to cement you as their realtor. It's going to be super valuable for them to understand the process, set expectations, for you to dive in deeper detail. But you can absolutely set an appointment to go out and see more homes too. It's totally fine to do both of those. Good. Kenny tours a home with a new client he doesn't know well. During the tour, they say several times, this is the one for one of the houses. During your conversations, the client said that they have bought homes before and they're already pre-approved. Should you book a buyer's consultation? And this is a very real scenario here. So A, no, the client is experienced and won't get any value for it. B, no, you should focus on the property and the sale in front of you. C, yes, you should make everyone do a buyer's consultation. Or D, yes, and you can integrate it into a contract/disclosures review. What do we think? All right. Another C and D. Okay. See, anyone else? What do we think? Do you do the buyer's consultation, and why or when, if so? All right. Okay. So I think we all got that, yes, we should be doing a buyer's consultation. Depending on the client, I think D is an okay answer for this, right? If you've got momentum, if they found a property, if they're very interested in it, you can combine a buyer's consultation with going through and actually writing the offer with them. And I actually really like that as a strategy, because you're sitting down, you're reviewing offer terms and using that as an opportunity to talk through the home buying process with them and keeping momentum going. But I would agree with C, everyone should do some form of a buyer's consultation, because I don't know if you've had this experience, but I've had this happen many, many times where we've got a client, we go out into our properties, they're super excited about it. We start making an offer on that house, and then they cool off and they're like, you know what, never mind, I'm not interested in this one anymore for whatever reason, and then they disappear because they've just attached you with that one house, and we didn't go through and do the buyer's consultation to establish yourself as their realtor for any house. All right, one more.
Oh, can I say something real
Sure.
quick? I think you should always do a buyer's consultation, whether it's their first home or their 10th home, because things may have changed from the last time they bought a home. And then also during your buyer's consultation, you will establish how you're going to work with them and how you work. And it's also like, when you get on a plane, every time you get on a plane, even though we've seen the emergency exit safety spiel that they do at the beginning, they do it every time to reiterate. So I think the same should be done with the buyer's consult.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd say that's fair. I'd say that's definitely fair. I'm actually going to skip over this question. We got 4 minutes left, so I want to hit on just one last thing with the phase of the lead conversation, that is closing the deal. Okay, so a couple of quick mindset things. When you finish that first showing appointment, now it's how do we get them to actually write an offer? This could be days, weeks, months, years, right? It is their time frame. That is the first important thing. Don't rush this because they will feel it. They'll smell our commission breath and they're going to go somewhere else. So don't rush this process. Sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's not. Second, keep in mind, they're busy. They have lives. Buying a home might not be their first priority. So if they don't answer our calls or text us back for a week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, don't take it personal. Something probably came up. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Third, you are there to bring value. I'm going to say that again. You are there to bring value. It is our job to contribute value. So when we're following up with the client, coming from a place of contributing value, not just, hey, do you want to buy a house? Do you want to buy a house now? Do you want to go out and see houses? Do you want to buy a house? It's going to turn them off. Keeping them informed and educated and updated and calling them and following up with value is how you're going to keep them engaged and move them down your sales funnel. Fourth, follow-up is your job. It's our job to follow up, not theirs. So we should always assume that the ball is in our court to reach out and keep them engaged throughout the process, not, oh, they'll call me when they're ready. We have to assume that the follow-up is always on us. And then last, plan for at least 1 to 8 touches per month. As a general rule of thumb, depending on where the client is, if it's longer term follow-up, 1 to 8 touches per month, bare minimum. Okay. So let's hit on a couple items. I'm sorry, no. So the other thing that is going to be tremendously valuable for you when doing your follow-up with the client is to have a goal in mind. So a couple of potential goals that you could have when you're calling the client or you're texting them or you're emailing them, trying to figure out, I showed them the house, they didn't want to write an offer. What do I do next? Right? Some things that you can do to add value. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm going to skip through this and go to the value component, because I think this is the last most valuable thing that we'll get out of today. And it is this saying that I like, which is, if you're going to go fishing, bring bait, right? So when you're doing your follow-up with the client, have some reason that you're following up with them. So this could be texting them a specific listing. Hey, just saw this and thought you might be interested in it. It's got a great backyard. Finding a specific home to call about. I like doing this, especially if you've got multiple buyers that are in the same area. Find one house and call them about it, and call 3, 5, 10 different buyers about it, so you don't have to do a bunch of research. Hey, this property just came up. It had a price reduction. I don't know if this is for you, but I wanted to bring it to you to see if it'd be something you're interested in. No? Oh, okay. Just want to make sure I got the right criteria. Are you still looking for this? Are you still looking for that? And get into the rest. Have something you're calling them about so that they want to answer your phone. It's like, oh, Dan's calling me. He must have a house. Run comps for their home if they're a seller. Give them an update on their neighborhood. Again, if they're a seller. HomeBot is a great tool for this, but also you can just, if you got a seller who's really active, check in on their neighborhood once every couple of weeks or so, see what new pendings, sold, active properties came up, and just call them to give them an update on it. Give them an update on market activity, right? Calling to let them know what's going on with prices. If they're buyers, informing them of price reductions of homes. Finding news, texting them articles about the latest interest rates or what's going on in the housing market. If there's new down payment assistance programs for loans, giving them information on that. Articles, local news. this list could go on, but the important thing is have something of value that you're contributing to them so that they feel like when you're calling or you're texting, you're actually contributing and not just being a burden of someone that's like, oh, they're going to ask me about buying a house again. I don't want to have this conversation. I'm not ready yet. Okay. It's 10:30. So I'm going to leave this resource list up here for where you can go next. And I'm going to stick around for a few minutes if anyone has any additional questions. So thank you all very much. Hopefully you got some value out of this. Hopefully you got some good talking points, some good resources, some good information, and you can go out and close some more leads. So thank you. If you want to stick around and ask questions, I will be here.
Thanks, Dan.
Yep. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, Dan, I do have a question. This is Tony.
Yep.
Hey, how you doing? I'm basically new with the fast agents, and I'm kind of going through the onboarding process right now. And as part of it, well, obviously doing this is part of it, but I'm not actually at a point of receiving online leads yet. In your opinion, when I get to that point, is there some resource that you find to be better than others for online leads?
Yeah, so this list has some of my favorites. So when you get to that point in onboarding, by far the simplest and easiest lead source to get signed up with is OpCity. Ojo and Flex have those companies have put up a lot of barriers for us getting agents signed up because it's a long story, but lead flow is down across all online lead providers, and OpCity is the last one that basically will let anyone sign up still. So that's the best one to get onto. So I do the Online Leads 101. That was last week. This month it's going to fall on Thanksgiving, so that I'll just post the recording from one of the last ones. I would strongly recommend these Rise training courses. So if you go in the #OpCityOjo Slack channel, I've got all of these training courses posted, but it's a subscription service that Team Fast pays for coaching and training specifically for OpCity leads. And so there's 3 courses that they do. One is an onboarding to help you get your account set up. Super, super helpful. And then there's 2 that it's intro and advanced leads. So there's some overlap to what I talk about, but they're really focused on like how to work the OpCity system to get more leads. I would say if you access those 4, my 101, and then those 3 Rise training courses, that'll give you a really, really good foundation.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining and welcome to the team.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Ophelia, I see a hand raised there.
Yes. Hi, Dan. Good morning. I'm not new, but I'm still having trouble receiving. I already have the app. I already attended the trainings. I'm not sure if I'm just not the chosen one because I have not received not one phone call with leads.
From OpCity.
Yeah, for anything.
Yeah. So OpCity is kind of tricky. It's very easy to get into what I think of as OpCity jail, where if you start and you get set up and they send you leads and you don't respond to them, whether you saw them or not, they have a score. And if your score starts to fall down, they'll just stop sending you stuff. So I can connect with you offline. But I would definitely recommend going to all of those Rise training courses because those have a ton of information. There's 2 today, actually. There's one at 12 o'clock and one at 2 o'clock. They've got a lot of details, but let me just look at your account here.
Well, there was a problem with Judith had me confused with Ophelia Vargas. And then so it took like a month. I wasn't hearing for Judith at all.
Yeah.
And so I reached out personally to OpCity and was like, hey, I mean, I'm confused of what's going on. Like, why is it like not completely? So one of the issues was that my account was still connected to my previous broker. And so they modified that and corrected it.
Okay. So the issue is if you go into your account settings, your
Yes.
criteria are way too narrow. So
In the
you've
app?
got within 15 miles of 94706, there's 71 zip codes disabled. You've disabled investor, lease, rent to own, and your only enabled price range is $1 million and above, and you've disabled land and manufactured homes.
Where do I see that? In the app?
In the app and in settings, so turn all of that off. You want to accept every single lead that comes through, at least initially. And again, those RISE courses give you a little bit of a rundown on like kind of how to approach that. But when you're starting off, your goal is to build your score within the OpCity platform. So you want to be accepting every single lead type.
In the preference
Mm-hmm.
preference section. Okay, I see that. Okay.
Yeah, run through that. If you still have questions, shoot me a message on Slack and I can go a little bit deeper into detail on that.
Okay, good.
Bev, I see you got a hand up here. What you got?
Yeah, I have a question about their lenders. I know in the beginning, Opcity said we should at least connect them with their preferred or recommended lenders. Are we still doing that, or can we use our own that we work with?
I mean, your buyer can use whoever they want. Bottom line, end of the day, it's your buyer's choice for what lender they want to use. So they don't have to use anyone.
Okay.
The Street Home Lending team is the affiliate lender with our OpCity subscription. So they get the leads that we're getting as well. It's just the way that OpCity is set up.
Okay.
They know how to work online leads. And so I would strongly recommend giving them at least the first bat and working with them rather than trying to pull the lead away from someone who is already working in tandem with you, already knows how to work online leads, is getting all the contact information, and is following up with those leads already. So it's far, far, far to your advantage to work with them because you're going to be coming at it from two different angles. And online leads are not for everyone. Not most lenders don't like or don't know how to work online leads. They expect like we're going to send them approvals and this person's ready to go and buy a house. And if they call once and they get, they don't get an answer, they're like, I tried. So
Okay.
These guys know what it takes to follow up with online leads.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, good question. Good question. Anyone else? These are all really good questions.
Yeah, I had a question. So how do you handle leads that are like unrealistic? Like if their like price range is like, I don't know, like 300,000 and then they want to buy like a home in the Bay Area, like a single family home?
Yeah. That's a good question. I mean, so the way that I usually try to handle that, if they're serious, if they're like, hey, we really want to buy a house, like we genuinely want to be homeowners, we've gotten approved, here's our budget. Sitting down in the buyer's consultation and just showing them the data. Like you guys want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in the Bay Area. Nothing has sold under $500,000 in the last year. So, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't tell you this, but this house doesn't exist at 300,000. So our two options are for you guys to increase your loan approval or for us to look in other cities. Which of those would you like to pursue? And if they say neither, I want you to find me a $300,000 house in the Bay Area. And you say, I wish I could work magic. Maybe you can find another realtor who will, but unfortunately, that's just not something I'm going to be able to do.
So are you speaking in the context of when they're connecting with you or when you're actually doing the showing?
I don't think I understand the question.
Like, I guess my question is, would you actually do the showing and then explain that to them, or would you like rather like let them know beforehand before even doing the showing because it's just like not realistic at all?
I mean, so the answer is probably do the showing, but it depends on what you mean by I would just say do the showing because it's most of the time going to be hard to get enough information in the 3-minute conversation with them to know for sure that where their expectations are in fact their true limitations and expectations, if that makes sense. When you get face to face with them, when you dig in and do a buyer's consultation and explain to them what the process is, people start with crazy expectations all the time, usually because they don't know the market. They're like, yeah, I'd love to have a $300,000 house, but okay, if we have to spend 500, I guess we will. So I would say just get the appointment and make the assumption that you will be able to get them in touch with reality. Probably a lot of them won't, but that's, the more opportunities, the more at bats you get, the more success you're going to have.
And if we're in Op City jail, how do we get out of that?
Kind of a long question. I would recommend going to those RISE courses.
Okay.
But the basic thing is turn all of your filters off for leads, except everything. 60-mile radius, lease and rent to own properties, manufactured homes, land, everything, except every single lead. But in the RISE courses, they're going to have like specific tactics for how to do that. That's a little out of the scope of today, but they have really, really good specific tactical things on how to get out of the Op City jail. But the short answer is just turn all of your filters off for lead types.
And so like let's say like I get like a rental lead, would I actually show them the house and like show them a bunch of properties just to
Okay, so with rental leads, it's extremely difficult to get paid for getting someone signed on for a rental lease. So
yeah.
there's not really a way, unless you're getting them into like a high-end condo in San Francisco, you're probably not going to be able to get paid for it. But you can get points for it in Op City, and that's the goal of those rental leads. So what you want to do is you want to move them into Met status within the first 2 weeks of taking them on as a new lead.
Gotcha. And do we get I guess penalized if we like take the lead, do a showing, and then I guess like it didn't work out, and then we just like drop the lead?
Yes and no. And again, this is the RISE course goes through a lot more of the tactics of like how to drop leads effectively.
Yeah.
If you drop too many leads at a time or within too tight of a time frame, yes, you get penalized. If you drop like 1 lead a week, you'll be fine.
Okay. And then last question. So I had this like showing. I met them up. I actually did 2 showings, and they didn't have an agent. And they told me many times they're not ready to commit. At the end of the last showing, I asked them if they want to do a buyer's consultation, and they said no. They told me again they're not ready to commit, and then they still keep texting me to show more homes. Like, what would you do in this situation?
Yeah, it's a good question. Without, I guess it kind of depends in part on what the other conversations have been like, what the interaction's been like. I generally think more face to face is better, but I also usually have a 2 showings limit for for me. I'm at the point in my career where I don't like to just open doors. It really depends on if where you're at as well, and if it's worth it to chase down the lead. Could very well be. I've had people where I've done that for, and they wound up buying houses. They just legitimately need more time before they want to do that. So I wouldn't say that there's like a hard here's what you do type of answer. Generally though, if they're wanting to keep seeing houses and they haven't been approved, they haven't done a buyer's consult, they're shopping around with a bunch of different realtors, I would just have a frank conversation with them of, hey guys, here's how I work. At this point, we need to sit down and have a buyer's consultation. It's not a commitment, but I need to get some understanding of you and your expectations, and make sure you understand how I work as a realtor, and how this process works. And if they say absolutely not, at some point it's okay to fire clients.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Dan.
Tony, you're still on mute.
Yeah. Hi. Sorry about that. Just a quick kind of housekeeping question. Dan, as you're speaking, I'm still kind of getting used to the, fast class and where to find things. The Rise training that you were talking about, is that will I find that in the Slack channel or through the fast class?
Great question. So if it's on Slack.
Oh.
And if you go to the channel that's hashtag OpCity-Ojo. I'm just loading my
City.
You should see on October 24th was the last time I posted it. And it's got the full agenda for the different trainings from Rise.
I don't see an OpCity on my OpCity, OPCITY, correct?
Yeah, you might have to go to under channels. You might have to do add channels and subscribe.
Oh.
Actually, you know what? I can add you to it. I'll just do it right now.
Okay.
I think I just added you. Oh, there we go.
Oh, there it is. I see it now. It came up. Okay, so yeah, it just showed up. So then just search for Rise within that channel.
Yeah, and it's not very many posts back. So if you just scroll up on the list, it was a week or so ago. So you should see it. It's a long list from my post.
Oh, I see. Got it.
Yeah, and
Okay, great.
Opcity agent onboarding, that's best to do once you've got the account set up, because that
Yeah.
one, or not once you get the account signed up, once you've got the invitation
Mhm.
account, because then like they'll literally go through like what buttons to press on your phone as you're setting up your Opcity account, and like what settings to enable and which ones to not enable.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yep, no problem. Bev, what do we got?
Yeah, okay, so I don't know if you already went over this, but when you open a door for a buyer and it turns out they have an agent, what do you do at that point, or how do you release the client back to Opcity? Because there was a time where I opened a door and her agent was with her, and they thought I was the listing agent, and there was a language barrier too as well.
Yeah, I mean that's tough. That's gonna happen. That's happened to me. It's happened to a lot of agents I know. There's no real getting away from that.
Mhm.
You just go into Opcity in the app and just hit release. There's just like a setting or a section in the Opcity app where you can just hit release lead.
Okay.
A question that you can ask when you're setting the appointment after appointment, location, motivation, after you've gone through and built rapport and relationship,
Mhm.
is just, hey, I want to make sure I'm not stepping on anyone's toes. Do you have a realtor that you're committed to?
Okay.
And if they say yes, then again, this depends on where you're at and where your preferences are. If someone says, I've been seeing houses with a realtor, I will go and show that person because I'm pretty confident that I can win their business. If they're not signed up with a buyer broker agreement and they're shopping around online and their realtor hasn't told them about how to go into our homes, I'm pretty sure I can snap that person and earn their business. So I usually go and show someone who is talking to other realtors but uncommitted. If someone says, yes, I have a realtor, they're out of town right now, I just want to go and see this house. Then what I'll say is, okay, so here's the thing. If we go out and see this home, what that means is you wouldn't be able to use your realtor if you're interested in this specific property. It's just kind of the way the process works. Are you okay with that? They usually say no and say, okay, well, I understand your realtor's out of town. Here's what you do. If you text me their contact information, I'll call them and see if I can work something out with them so that I can get you into this house today.
Okay.
Sometimes that works.
Yeah. Okay.
And if they say no, then say, all right, good luck. I'm not going to
Yeah.
spend 3 hours of my day touring around houses.
Right. Okay. Got it.
Yep. All right, folks, I got to go. I got to hit the road here. So thank you all very much. Fantastic questions. Hit me up on Slack if you've got any other questions. The Rise course, the Online Leads 101, though, are 2 other really, really good resources for you. So good luck. Go out and sell some homes. See y'all later.